Yo, so the NBA gave us a treat to start off the new year with two of the Western Conference's best teams facing off against each other. We got the Golden State Warriors going into Utah and defeating the Utah Jazz of a score of 123 to 116. This was without Draymond Green. We got the NBA Game Time crew led by Channing Frye talking about it. I'll let the video play and I'll chime in.
On this Saturday slate. But first, the final moments of that game in Utah, as it looked like the Jazz were able to cut into the lead, and you seemed confused by the final possessions.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's. I feel like when you're playing the Golden State Warriors, you have to change things up. If the fact that they went with five guards, I think you should match that up. And again, if Steph Curry has the ball, you got to have your head on a swivel right here. Everyone stops. Why are you stopping? Every time Steph Curry gives the ball up, he's the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA. When he gives the ball up, where do you think he's going? He's not going to go chill in the corner. He's going to continue to run like you see there. And right here, it's just like, for me, you got to match personnel with personnel.
I was very shocked when Andre Iguodala hit that shot. I was actually cringing my head a little bit as he went up to shoot it. I did not like that shot, but Andre Iguodala has proven throughout his career to be a very clutch player, so you live with it whether he makes it or misses it. That was the shot that Utah wanted to give them. When teams play against the Golden State Warriors, they've been operating in a lot of zone. We saw Utah playing that zone. And it's a little bit of a gimmick defense that they try to use to set the Warriors off a little bit. The Warriors have been seeing gimmick defenses for years now due to the volume of threes that the Warriors take and make per game. Teams have kind of decided that, hey, we're just going to front the three-point line. And you see the Warriors actively working backdoor cuts. I mean, Draymond Green didn't play tonight, but Draymond Green will have the ball at the top of the key. Juan Toscano-Anderson, Gary Payton the second. These guys, Bielita, they'll have the ball at the top of the key, and they'll be actively looking for cutters. Like everybody in the gym knows they're looking for a backdoor cut, and they still manage to get the backdoor cut pass off. It's ridiculous, and it's because teams are fronting and hedging, and they're trying to stop the three-point line, and they're giving up anything within the three-point line against Golden State. So Golden State is smart enough to understand that, hey, we'll take the mid-range. Hey, we'll take the floaters if you're just going to stop us from shooting threes. And when you do allow us to shoot the threes, I mean, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson is on his way back. They're going to make the threes when they get them. But I just thought I saw a couple interesting things from Utah that I want to discuss. Utah's a gimmicky team to me. They've been running a gimmick offense for a couple of years now. What I mean by gimmick is they hand the ball off to Donovan Mitchell and they clear out and they just run Donovan Mitchell pick and rolls to death with shooters surrounding him. And they kind of juice Donovan Mitchell and they squeeze all they can out of Donovan Mitchell. The coach knows that he doesn't have enough talent to really be an elite team. So he uses his best player and just really maximizes him. And they use the role players as three-point shooters. And long story short, they're playing math on the basketball court. They're using analytics. They're using the three-pointer or the layup to try to maximize the efficiency of the role players that are surrounding Donovan Mitchell, because the only player on this team that they really trust is Donovan Mitchell. Everybody else kind of plays a fill-in role for them. And I like the Utah Jazz roster. I like Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. He has a little bit of Vinnie Johnson to him in the way that he can just heat up. I like Rudy Gobert. I actually like Rudy Gobert more than most. I think sometimes Rudy Gobert can be cringeworthy, but I like Rudy Gobert more than most because his impact on the defensive end is undeniable. And I do like a couple of these guys like Rudy Gay, Gobert, not Gobert, but Rudy Gay, Bogdanovich, a couple of the guys that are on the wing. I like the wing players too. My problem with Utah, and I've been saying this for a while, is they don't get enough out of the point guard position. Mike Conley, when he was in Memphis, would have been perfect for this team. Mike Conley, his first year in Utah, felt like it was going to be a good fit, and he actually had a down year. And then I think he played better the following year. I think this is maybe his third year in Utah now. But Mike Conley just doesn't give you enough. He went like 4 for 13 tonight. And he just doesn't give you enough at that position because they need someone who relieves Donovan Mitchell of some of that ball handling duty and some of that creating duty. And Mike Conley's not he doesn't have enough in his offensive bag at this point in his career where he can still do that for a team. He's very much an off guard at this point, and they need someone who can kind of take the load off. I like how Dallas has like a Jalen Brunson to go with Luka Doncic, but like something along those lines, how like Devin Booker has Chris Paul. I feel like Donovan Mitchell needs another guard who's like very, very capable in the backcourt with him. Someone who can help create, someone who can take some off his shoulders because they're very deep at wing. They get wing production. They're good at center with Rudy Gobert. They have Hassan Whiteside as the backup center. They always have a decent backup center, so they get solid center play throughout the game. But the problem is, for Utah, the problem for me with Utah is the other guard spot. You got to have someone who can help Donovan Mitchell where it's not like Donovan Mitchell or die.
This situation. If a team is playing 5 guards, I don't care if Andre Iguodala, who is one of the nicest people ever, Finals MVP. This is a regular
I think he heard
season.
you, by the way.
I know he did. He heard me. That's my guy. U of A.
Called him crusty.
That's why you have Rudy Gay, right? And no offense to Gobert, that's why you have Rudy Gay. You switch all that. You keep the guy in front, right? Gobert was playing a drop again, and then he allows somebody to shoot an uncontested 3.
Let me just say this. I understand what Channing Frye is trying to say, but my problem with that is when you look at the defensive efficiency for the Utah Jazz, they're one of the best defensive teams in NBA history when Rudy Gobert is on the court, and they're actually one of the worst defensive teams in the league when Rudy Gobert is off the court. So they're guys, they're perimeter wings, they're guards. I like them on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, all they do is play tight on the ball, and they get blown by, and then Rudy makes up for all the sins, you know? I mean, what Rudy Gobert does in the paint, sometimes he's on the interior with like a 2-on-1, 3-on-1 after getting blown by, and there's a cutter, and then he has his man under the basket, and he finds a way to limit the team every single time. So, like, as far as Quinn Snyder not taking Rudy Gobert off or keeping him on or off the court, I understand any time that he keeps him on the court because the defense is atrocious when he's not on the court. This is not great defensive personnel.
This is a regular season game. To me, that was a game that should have been won. I felt like Utah did the game plan. Yeah. They limited the threes up until the fourth quarter. They slowed the pace of the game down. They were offensive rebounding. And then right when, remember we asked, does Utah have it? Right when it was needed, it was not, it was in the trash. And it's just not, it's frustrating.
One of the things we talked about is that both of these teams not only sit among the 3 best in the NBA, but are among the 6 best, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. Sean, as I'm looking at some of these offensive numbers, not only did Curry score 12 of his 28 in the fourth quarter alone, the team shot better than 70% from the field in the fourth quarter alone, and they had a season-high 39 assists. What can be done when their offense is clicking on all cylinders?
No Draymond out there.
As he was about to allude to, no Draymond tonight. That's very, very impressive by the Golden State Warriors, and I can't say that I'm too surprised. The Golden State Warriors right now are clicking on all cylinders. They have a system, and they all know what the system is, and they're all bought into the system. I have to give a lot of credit to Steve Kerr. I'm not the biggest Steve Kerr guy, but you have to give credit to where it's due, and he has these guys buying into the system, and really, it's gotten to a point where besides Steph Curry, almost everybody on this roster right now is kind of interchangeable. You take out an Andrew Wiggins and you fill in with Otto Porter, and you don't really miss too much. You miss on the defensive end. I'm not going to lie. Andrew Wiggins has been great on the defensive end. But you can get a proximity of it where you don't really notice how much you miss him, at least during the regular season. Or you can miss a Draymond Green and you can get away with it because you can go small with Gary Payton Jr. starting or something. Or, you know, Jordan Poole had limited minutes today because he just came back from COVID. They're really interchangeable at this point. I think Klay's going to come in and it's going to be a seamless fit. The offense revolves around Steph and Curry. As long as Steph is in the game, I think the offense moves because everybody knows when to pass, when to cut, when to shoot. And on the defensive end, Draymond is definitely the anchor, but everybody's bought into the defensive end. So when you have guys who buy into the defensive end, it kind of camouflages for the lack of a shot blocker that the Warriors don't really have. And the Warriors are going to be getting James Wiseman back at some point. I'm not the highest on James Wiseman. I don't view James Wiseman as a shot blocker. I don't view him as somebody who's going to make an impact on the defensive end. And I don't really know. I'm very interested to see how he fits with them because I don't really think he knows when to pass or when to cut or when to shoot. I don't know how he's going to look in this motion offense. He was very stagnant his rookie season. Him and Steph Curry had very terrible numbers, terrible efficiency when they were on the court together. Actually, James Wiseman had the worst efficiency of any teammate that Steph was with that season. So I'll be very interested to see how he fits into it all. I think Looney does a great job of getting offensive rebounds. I think Looney does a great job of being at the right place at the right time. But he's not a shot blocker, and at the end of the day, Kevon Looney is Kevon Looney. So he's limited. He's someone who you can't rely on for more than a certain amount of minutes per game. So we'll see how the Warriors work the center position once Wiseman is back, and we'll see how the roster looks once Klay arrives. My assumption is that Klay Thompson is going to come in and it's going to be a seamless fit. Jordan Poole will slide over into that six-man role, and the bench will be even more firepower.
Direct the attack also, so it was very impressive. Otto Porter had his moments. Wiggins had his moments. Iguodala, you saw at the end, had his moments. And he had Jordan Poole. The guy was in quarantine in Boston Hotel for 10 days, comes back in his first game back and does pretty well too. So imagine this team when they get Wiseman back, Klay Thompson back. All of a sudden, the Warriors right now are probably the boss in the West if they haven't proved it already.
And even Draymond back, because
The Golden State Warriors are the best team in the NBA right now. I don't care what the record says. I don't care what Phoenix's record is, what Milwaukee's record or Chicago or Brooklyn's record. The best team in basketball right now is the Golden State Warriors. They are the team that's playing the best basketball, the most consistent basketball, the basketball that I can see translating into the playoffs the most. The only team that I would give an edge to the Warriors to if I had to would be the Milwaukee Bucks, just out of respect. I always show respect to teams that have won championships, and the Milwaukee Bucks did just win a championship. And they still have their big three intact. Brook Lopez has been out since the first game of the season, but they still have their big three intact. And when all three of those guys play, they have a ridiculous record. They're like 14-1 or something like that when Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Drew Holiday play. And I was very impressed with what the Milwaukee Big Three did in the NBA playoffs last year. So maybe I give a slight edge to them just out of respect. Until I see somebody beat them, I'll say that the Milwaukee Bucks might be the team. They're surely the team to beat just because they won the championship. But nobody's playing better basketball when you just look at how the game's being played right now. Nobody's playing better basketball at this moment than the Golden State Warriors.
says a lot about his influence on this team, Channing, even when he's sidelined.
I think there's just a culture of this team. They know offensively they're one of the top 2 or 3 best teams when it comes to just pure offense. And that goes down the line. You saw everyone has the green light to shoot the best shot that possession, right? And also, what's also dangerous about this team, Otto Porter, who's not known for it, I think had 7 assists. Andre Iguodala had 8. So when you have that many guys making plays for other guys, everyone's a threat. This was a great game. And obviously, I'm being a little critical of Utah, but that's just me being all. It was a great game by both teams, but you have to make adjustments when you're playing the Warriors. You can't.
It was a great game by both teams, and when he's talking about Otto Porter having this many assists, Andrew Wiggins, Andre Iguodala having these assists, anybody can have assists in the Warrior system because the Warrior system doesn't necessarily have a point guard. Usually it's going to be Draymond Green who gets the assist because Draymond Green is the de facto point guard. I actually like Draymond Green in the point guard role better than I like a lot of other guys who run the point guard role in the NBA. I mean, the offense speaks for itself. When you look at the efficiency and you look at Draymond Green being the lead assist guy in this offense, you can't really argue with Draymond being a top 10 de facto point guard. I mean, I know we don't think about Draymond as a point guard, but just as the de facto point guard, he kind of runs the best offense. He runs an offense that has been great for years on years now, and he's kind of he's the guy at the top of the key making the passes. He's the guy setting the screens. He's the guy who sets the table up. So with Draymond gone, this system just as long as you have Steph Curry there and the right personnel around, it kind of just works itself, and the pieces become kind of interchangeable. So you had Otto Porter setting up the plays today. Sometimes you have Bielitsa dribbling the ball down the court. Sometimes Juan Toscano is dribbling the ball down the court. So, it's a system where the guard isn't necessarily a point guard. He's more of a combo guard, and he's looking to shoot. And Steph Curry is efficient with the ball to start the play, but Steph Curry is at his best when the ball ends in his hands, when the play ends in his hands opposed to the play starting in his hands. So you want him to be the one that's shooting. You want him to be involved later on in the play to get the most efficient shot. So the Warriors have unlocked that, and it really doesn't matter who's at the top of the key as long as they understand when and where to feed Steph Curry and when and where to hit the backdoor cut.
Play regular basketball from the early 2000s.
And you should be critical because sustained greatness comes with expectations, and the Jazz have sustained greatness for several.
But anyway, I just wanted to chime in. I saw these guys talking about the game. We got treated with two of the best teams in the Western Conference. So, yeah, thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.